Good morning. Well, as you can see, I've been tidying some plants up. Now, these are from the pond in the car park, which, as you can see, is absolutely covered in duckweed. This is after I've spent an hour fishing stuff off the surface, and 2 wheelbarrows later, it still doesn't look a lot better. But unfortunately, the previous person who worked in the shop decided to liven it up by putting lots of plants in. Now, they are getting tangled with the duckweed that I'm trying to remove and are becoming a pain. So what I've done is I've pulled a load of them out to here, and I've been tidying them up, and I'm going to put them in this tub here when they're nice and healthy, so I can keep an eye on these and make sure there's no duckweed on these, clear the pond out there, and then when it's sort of finished and tidy, I can put these back in the pond out there. But as you can see, these really haven't been sort of looked at all. So there is some fantastic plants like that one. Pot goes that way, so that's going to be an interesting one to try and sort out, and I thought you might be interested in that. And then we got things like the iris here, which again, pot goes that way, but I just wanted to show you how robust these plants are and how much you can actually do to them. So yeah, let's start with this one. Right, so I said that this was an iris, but actually I'm wrong. It is a sweet scented rush. So the way to tell that is literally to break a piece of the leaf off and smell it, and it smells sweet. So has the green leaves like an iris. It does flower, but it's this strange little green sausage thing. It really doesn't notice. So but yeah, now to get this out of the pot, obviously this lot's all loose, that's not a problem, but these roots are growing through the side of the pot. It is literally, you just need to break those off, because otherwise it won't come out the pot. There we go, and then we can slide that out. There we go. Now this has probably been in this pot this year, and that's it. So that's a year's growth. So we always say if you want to pot up your plants, it's best to do it when they're young, because those roots will continue to grow and continue to spread. So now you've got the plant out of the pot, next thing to do is to take off these dead leaves. You're basically taking it down to these new shoots here, and everything else can just go. The further down you can cut these, the better. Because anything left on there will end up rotting like this, which isn't good for your pond. I shouldn't have really done that, because there could be new growth in the middle of that, but seeing as there's so much growth at the edge here, I'm not too worried about that one. You can see here, this is what I was just saying there, new growth is coming up through the middle, so you want to pull the old leaf off to the side and then cut it. Otherwise you might end up damaging that new growth in the middle, like I just did there and there, because I'm not concentrating. Let's get this last two. Right, so there we go. That's down to what's left. So the next thing I want to do to this is I'm trying to get rid of the duckweed, to give it a rinse. So I've literally just got a bucket of water here, and I'm just dunking it in. So this isn't necessary, only if you're trying to get rid of the duckweed. There we go, that's better. Right. So, next thing to do is pot it up. Now, I'm going for the next size up pot, mainly because I've got it. You could go even bigger still if you wanted, but I think that should be absolutely fine. And I'm using proper aquatic compost here. So the aquatic compost is a lot denser than your regular compost, so it sinks when it's in the water. So with this, I like to make sure there's a little bit of compost just on the bottom of the pot. And you can then literally just twist it round so the roots go round in circles before you put your plant back in. Now I'm mixed between where the pot's fallen over, the plant's grown sideways. So part of me goes, I'll stand the pot back up so they're all at the same level, but then the plant's going sideways. Whereas if I put it at a slight angle, this one will be deeper, but I don't think it will matter too much. The plant should be fine from there. The next thing to do is put the compost in. really want to press that down, make sure it's really nice and firm. Right, there we go. Now that's covered the roots plenty. There's a big gap at the top of the pot here. That is for the gravel. Now if it's a wildlife pond, you won't only need a thin layer of gravel just to stop the compost from washing out. If you've got fish, you need a lot thicker layer of gravel and chunky gravel as well, because the fish will disturb it a lot easier. And there we go, that looks a lot better. So I'll put that in the tub, ready to go back in the pond. Right, so the next one is this one, which I'm going to do slightly differently. Now I believe this is a water plantain. So first thing I'm going to do with this is wash it, get the duckweed off. There we go, so we can actually see what we're doing now, and just take some of these lower leaves off. Now I need to get that out of that pot. Now there is no easy way to do this other than destroy your pot. Oh dear. Right, there we go, and I've not damaged too many of the roots getting that out. I got rid of all the plastic, which would have restricted its growth. So now this one, because it's only a small plant, I'm going to plant it back in a pot of the same size. There we go. Now I had plenty of soil around it already. It doesn't need any extra compost. And then just some gravel on top. This will also prevent it from rotting too much to keep the plant upright. There we go, that looks better. Right, next one here is a water soldier. This is one of the easiest plants to do anything to, because literally all you want to do is take any dead leaves off from the underneath here, like that. Then give it rinse off. The rest of the duckweed, there we go. And that is it. You just chuck it in like that. The roots grow from the base there, they'll dangle down into the water, and in the summer that floats on the surface, well just below the surface, and then in the winter that sinks down. So yeah, that can go straight in as it is. Okay, so the next one is this mess here, which is water hawthorn. Now these aren't actually from a pot, these are runners, so I haven't found the base of this plant, but it puts runners out like strawberry runners, and then you get new plants growing it, and that's what they look like once you've rinsed it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rinse these off in the bucket of water here, then just pot them all up together. So if I start by putting a decent layer of compost in the bottom of the pot, then I can just space them around as I clean them, and then finish filling the pot afterwards. Right, let's put those in there to soak. Makes me laugh. Pond plant, they're soaking. Right, fill the pot with some compost. Go. Just space those round. Okay, so this is the next plant. Now I'm not sure, it could be an arrowhead, although I think it's more likely to be a prickleweed. There's no label, in fact there was no pot, it was just floating in the pond. So yeah, this is all I know about it. Now unfortunately it's coming to the time of year when it does die down for winter, and I'm a bit mixed because part of me goes, we'll just cut all the growth off and just bury the roots. At the same time it's like, no, I want to encourage as much energy back into the roots as possible. So I'm going to take off any of the rotting leaves at the bottom here and any of the damaged leaves. Now this is an incredibly fragile plant. You can hear it as you move anything, it's sort of that crunching sound. So got to be careful with it. But, there we go. Like I say, it does grow from the roots. So that, there we go. I think that will do. I'll get rid of that one too because it's damaged. There we go. That don't look too bad. And because of the size of this one, I'm going for a bigger pot. Now this is partially because of the fact that it's going to have a big base to it, and partially just because of the extra wind resistance. It gets quite tall, you don't want it blowing over. So I've got a brand new basket on second-hand compost. So there we go, a bit of compost in the bottom. Now you can see the way this is growing, it's going to carry on spreading in this direction. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay the roots across that way, so it's off in that corner. A bit more compost over the top of it. There we go, and then try and centralise the plant a little bit from there. So that means that as it grows, it'll grow across into the pot rather than out over the side of the pot. Again, want to get the compost nice and firm so that the plant doesn't fall over. There we go, that should do. A bit more in there, I think. And again, some gravel for the top. And because it's leaning over, I'm going to take those leaves off as well. There we go. Didn't put that down well, did I? There we go. Oh, what the hell. It's all going to be coming off in a few weeks anyway. Yeah, no, change mine. There we go. Take it down to those two leaves. There we go. I'm going to leave it like that. Right, well that is the first wheelbarrow of plants done. There were two left. We've got the red stem parrot's feather here, which is nice and fluffy, and we have got the upright milfoil, which again, there's a nice bit, that's nice and fluffy too. Now they're both oxygenators and they're both evergreen. Unfortunately, because they are so fluffy, there is no way I'm going to be able to get the duckweed out of these. So I am literally going to take these out of the pot and put them on the compost, which is a shame, but never mind. There's still plenty more plants in that pond. Okay, well we're on to the second wheelbarrow load of plants now. Some of them, like this one, are relatively easy. I believe that's a variegated yellow flag iris, but that just needs a bit of a tidy up. So start with a wash. Pick the dead leaves out. Take off any roots that are sticking through the pots. Now this one needs a small top up on the compost. And again some gravel to hold it in place. And let's just trim these down. There we go, that's another one done. Okay, this is the next one, which is a scarlet lobelia. Now that's got the fantastic red leaves to it there, and this fantastic red flower at the top. Now unfortunately this had fallen over in the pond and was supported where it was leaning, so as soon as I went to move it, it just started snapping on me. So unfortunately there's not a lot I can do to save that bit of the plant. Now obviously once it finishes flowering, you'd be cutting it down anyway, so it's not harmed the plant as such. It's just a shame that we could have got a couple more weeks out of that flower. It would have been nice. So yeah, main thing that this one needs is just a good clean, because it is smothered in duckweed. There we go. Just trim off those roots where they come through the side of the pot. There we go. And this piece here I'm actually going to cut off. So you can see there, it's actually put some new aerial roots out. So what I'll do is I'll take that bit of the plant and just put that back into the pot as well, so we'll have an extra plant in there. There we go. Okay, this is the next one. I believe it's a Japanese clematis iris. I might be wrong with that. The reason I'm saying that is because it's got much thinner leaves on it, but it has a chunky root like an iris. So yeah. Now this one, again, it is a case of give it a good clean, but as you can see the pot's fallen over at some stage and it's grown upright. So I'm going to just take that out the pot and repot it in the pot it's in, so it's more upright. So yeah, let's start with a clean. There we go. Right, and this is the last plant. So this, I believe, just looking at the growth of it, is, well, everyone would say it's a bulrush. Technically it's a reed mace is the proper name, but it's that one you see at the side of the rivers with the brown sausage type flower, well, seed head should I say. But as you can see, it was in a small pot here, but due to the growth type, it's put a runner out here. You've got another plant, and it's put another runner out here. I'm hoping I'm in the shop. Put another run out here, and then we've got another plant. So what I'm going to do is I've got this really big basket here, and I've got some heavy aquatic soil rather than compost this time, because that should just give it a bit more wind resistance, so it shouldn't blow over. So yeah, just cut that up, clean it up, and pot it up in here. I'm turning that one round. As you can see there, that's a new shoot, so that's going off to be a new plant. So I'm aiming that into the middle of the basket. There we go. I'll leave that like that. Well, that's all the plants I managed to rescue out of the pond yesterday. I'm going to keep them in this temporary pond here. Now there is still a little bit of duckweed in there, but that's not a problem because I can go across with a small net like this and just fish that out. And over the next couple of weeks I can just keep an eye on this and make sure that duckweed doesn't come back. In the meantime, I'm going to be looking at the other pond. Unfortunately, there is no easy way to fix this. It is a case of persistence and fishing it all out with a net. So I'm going to get in there, and not only am I going to scoop the duckweed off the surface, I'm going to scoop the rotting leaves off the bottom of the pond too. because they are only going to break down and put nutrients into the water, which is going to feed the duckweed. So I'm going to trim all the plants around the edge as well, because they're starting to come down into the pond, and again they're trapping the duckweed, so it's just a case of making everything as free flowing as possible and then scooping as much out with a net as I can. So let's jump in there. Right, well that's taken me about 10 minutes to get that wheelbarrow load. So if I try and do half hour every morning and just take 2 or 3 wheelbarrow loads out of here each day, over the next couple of weeks I should get on top of this. So I shall show you what it looks like when I'm finished. Right, well it's a week later and there has been a vast improvement. I lost track of how many wheelbarrows worth of muck I took out of here. Well, to be honest, I stopped counting once I got to about 10. But it is looking a lot better. I've got rid of all the leaves from under the water, and I've got rid of the majority of the stuff floating on the surface. As you can see, there is still a little bit of duckweed, but what I've done is I've set up this skimmer, which should hopefully get rid of the last of it. So the way a skimmer works, basically it's got a slot on the front there that the water goes in, and it's just taking the surface layer of the water from the pond. Then inside there's a pump to pump it out the back, and that's just giving circulation to the pond, and all the duckweed hopefully will flow through that and get trapped inside there. I would lift the lid up and show you, but it has a tendency to float off, which is why it's got that rock on top. So there's still a fair bit to do to this pond, because I do want to trim up the bushes at the side there, make them look a little better, and there's brambles at the back that need to be pulled out, as well as a willow tree that's self-seeded. So yeah, I'll show you what it looks like when I'm finished. So I gave up on the skimmer pretty quick because it didn't really work. So it's great at catching these larger leaves like this, but the duckweed just sort of passed straight through it, so it was just a waste of electricity, so that went. But I've spent some time, I've cleared the brambles from the back, I've trimmed those bushes slightly, they will come back. I did want to carry on and do this one as well, but obviously I don't want to give too much of a shock for the owner, plus it doesn't look great with them like that. So they'll recover, then next year I can do this one when they look better. So I'm going to give it one last pass with the net just to get rid of these leaves on top, and then I'm going to be putting all of these plants back in. So, right. Well, of course, as today is cold, wet and raining, it is the busiest day of the week so far, so customers keep turning up, so I haven't got much time, so I'm going to get these plants in now. I would like to have cleared a few more leaves, but that's purely for the thumbnail to make it look nicer, so right, let's get these plants in. Right, well that's that pond looking so much better now. There's still the odd little bit of duckweed floating around in there. I'm hoping that I should be able to get on top of that. It shouldn't grow through the winter, so if I keep coming down with the net and keep scooping it, I should get rid of it. But the plants are all quite small now, so it's not getting tangled quite so much. But there's one last thing that this pond needs to really finish it off. There we go, a fountain. Right, see you later.